All right, 9 o'clock, we'll bring the Selectmen's meeting to order. Roll call, Rick Morgan.
Here.
Bob Freeman.
Here.
Myself is here, I don't have a flag.
We don't have a flag.
We'll
Pretend
go.
we do.
We'll go today. Items on the red folder to go through. As you know, this is a special Selectmen's meeting held today, Tuesday, October 11th, 9 a.m., and we're off and running. Have a letter here from the Ossipee Lake Alliance sent to Code Enforcement Officer in reference of building on Ossipee Lake, which is falling into the lake, to remove. We have been working on this. We have given the Code Enforcement Officer authority to go forward. He has gone to the town attorney. The town attorney has this to process as soon as possible so we can up and remove, have the owner remove it or remove this ourselves. We'd like to see it all done before winter.
Me too.
You got a status from Rick
I
Sager on
actually
this
just
one?
got off the phone with him. He just had to get final information on any lien holders that might have existing liens on the property. He has that together, and he'll have the orders available to sign probably by noontime this afternoon
Okay,
for that one and the 44 Bay Point Road property.
both of them. Good. And
And
But,
Sorry.
all right, once he gets to that point though, I mean, he has to give them how much notice in order to take it down?
20 days. They have 20 days from the date of receipt
To begin or to have it
to
completed?
have it down.
Okay.
they've received notice already, right?
Yes,
They have received a notice
yes.
at this point.
We
So now-
started the process. This is just in order to have it binding in court under the hazardous and dilapidated.
No, I get that, I'm just worried that, I mean, it's, as you pointed out, it
20
was
days.
how cold this morning?
Yeah,
Fall's heat, winter's not that far away.
so if they don't remove it within 20 days, then we can go in and do it and
Correct.
lien the cost of removing it against the property.
But even then, Frank, I mean, we're gonna have to put it out to bid to bring it
Absolutely.
removed. I mean, I'm afraid you're running out of time, is I guess what I'm saying.
Don't disagree, we just
can
hope for a mild fall.
Can't we put that out there for bid now? I mean, put it out, see, get some prices to have it torn
Not until
down?
you've given them an opportunity to do it themselves. How can you?
I mean, we're not gonna have it done. Can we get bids to have it done though?
It's pretty hard to ask for a bid you're not sure you can award.
Yeah, you're asking companies to invest time and effort into supplying the bid you may not even be going forward with. I'm just saying, it's, I mean, to start a bid process now.
Just trying to think about saving time. I don't
No,
know
I-
if there's something we can do.
I get that.
Maybe you can ask
Is there
Sagan if
any,
there's something we can do.
Requirements for if we do put it out for bid and a company gets awarded, do they have to go through any type of DES permits, whereas it's out in the water and stuff?
I don't have any idea.
The building's
Highly-
hanging over the
highly
water, so I'd only
possible, right?
assume.
Now, the best we can do is push it as fast as we can, and
I just think it's unrealistic at this point to think it's gonna happen for when, as much as I agree with it, that it ought to be.
well, I think it hinges on what type of fall we have. If we have a mild November, it probably can happen. If we have snow the 10th day of November, we probably can't be. But at least we can maybe get it to the
Yeah.
point of being able to do it early spring. But we concur with them, we have no issues with their letter.
Should we have Ellen respond at least back to them and say it's something that has been on our plate and that we are fully aware of and have been working on? I don't want them to think that it's because of something that they did that we're all of a sudden acting. We've been acting on this for
Oh, yeah, they should be notified that we've been acting on this
months.
for months.
It probably ought to go back to Steve, because this came into Steve.
Yeah.
You can help
I was
Steve put it
copied on
together.
I believe he spoke with David Smith from
Probably he did.
Ossipee Lake Alliance, so.
We're completely agreement with him, we agree completely with their assessment. And see if we can put something together and, Steve can send it back to him,
I just think it ought to go back to him in writing.
yeah. We have an outdoor event application from Sunnyville for snowmobiles. As far as I'm concerned, he needs to go to the planning board.
I was actually gonna bring this up today anyway, because I think that we ought to, and I didn't realize that this was gonna be here already, but we ought to, come up with some sort of mechanism to notify all of these different people who have been utilizing things under the temporary event ordinance that the ordinance has changed. I don't think it's too late for them to go. I mean, under our now new ordinance, we can give them a permit
One time.
for one time, we can do more than one permit, and it specifies in there, in the new ordinance, that especially for, one of the things to be considered is if they've done multiple events in years past without problems. This isn't a problem. I don't have a problem issuing them a temporary event permit for the first race, even the second race if it needs to be before they can get through the planning board process. But I do agree that they ought to operate underneath their site plan review, and I don't think they'll have any issue with that.
I don't think they will either, I think they have time enough to do it.
As long as they've got time enough to do it, I would not want, I guess what I'm saying is, they've been holding this event down there for years. I guess what I would say is, why don't we send them back a letter directing them to the planning board, but also leave the door open that if, for whatever reason, the time is, the time constraints from the planning board are going to interfere with the first race, then we would entertain an application for a,
How many businesses do annual type? I know the Smokehouse does their car show. Sunnyville does it.
we had the
Well,
the people at Jake Seafood who were doing the ice castle last year.
Correct.
Again, that was gonna be an open and ongoing thing, which again, I don't think they'll have any issue whatsoever of getting a site plan approval for that. But I don't want, what I'm saying is, I think it would be unfair to these people who've been doing these events for years if we don't notify, in some cases, they may not even know that the ordinance has changed.
Well, that's where I was coming from. How many people do we have?
There aren't very many, I'd say less than
We
5.
probably ought to send them out a letter.
With a
Including
copy,
the
old
with a
one.
copy of the new ordinance.
Jake's, all of them.
And, again, I believe we ought to make it very clear to them that, well, if there is an issue getting through site plan review, to please contact us. I think that I wanna be a part of making sure that those events aren't interrupted, because they're not an issue, they haven't been a problem. Sunnyville has been doing these antique races down there, and there's not been, to my knowledge, not a single incident down there.
And it's on their own land.
It's on their own property, and again, I think we should send it back to them, steer them to the planning board, but leave the door open to help them out if the time is gonna be an issue.
Okay? If you need help putting that together, I'd be happy to help you too. The other thing I have is a letter here from Conservation Commission, again to the zoning office. Did Steve get this? Do you know? On the fill, up by
Yes,
Blake Hill?
yes.
He did. Okay, there's no indication on it that he ever received it.
I
But
gave him
why,
a copy of
but
it.
why is it in our folder?
It came to the board of, it was actually addressed to the board of
Oh, I
selectmen.
thought it was addressed
No,
to Steve.
addressed to Steve.
Addressed to Steve.
Not even addressed to us.
When I read it, in review, get ready for the meeting.
Okay,
it
no,
didn't seem-
I'm sorry. The reason why is because a request came directly into Steve from the Conservation Commission for him to go out and review this. And I thought that all orders for him to review any zoning or other violations were to come through the Board of Selectmen, and then we were to instruct him to go out.
Okay.
So is that something you would like him to do?
Well, yeah, we need to have him go look at it and see if it's truly a violation. I'm not sure. Until we have an evaluation of it, we don't know
Okay.
what it means. But yeah, send him out to go do it.
Is it conservation land that they're filling in?
No,
No?
no.
Oh, okay.
But they're concerned about the amount of fill that is being brought in. It's changing the entire grade of the property, so you're gonna have erosion issues and,
I think it would depend a lot on, Ziegler Brooks or something like that. I don't know. Unless somebody has some issue, I don't know if there is an issue what you can and can't fill.
All of a sudden now they... in the town.
Let him research it and please provide back to us what his findings are. The other thing, and I got on top first before I got to the voucher, I have the check vouchers for the week ending 10/8/2016. Gross wages at $29,820.65. Payroll taxes, $8,551.30. Total of $38,371.95. We have batch total bills of $135,941.30, making the voucher for the total week ending 10/8 of $174,313.25. That just about breaks the bank. Make a motion, we approve them.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this will, well,
Well,
it
this
does,
is-
it almost wipes out what we have in the bank. This
Yeah,
will
170.
probably, will he borrow? I would
That-
hope.
That figure is already taken up, it was 174, 313.25 was the total, right?
Yep.
So that's already been
Oh, okay.
deducted from your report, so
All
we
right,
have
so-
174,930 remaining.
I thought we were gonna have
One more
like $300 left in the checking account.
We're good for one more week,
Okay.
depending on how much we spend.
But again, it's now the middle of October
Doing very well.
Very well.
without borrowing on the 10, so.
Bob, check it, I think I got them all. All right, this is for Kelly, it's State of New Hampshire, for the voting purposes, Ossipee Town Hall on Tuesday, the 8th day of November 2016. The polls will open between the hours of 8 o'clock and 7 a.m. and 8 and 7 p.m. Requesting that we sign this, make a motion that we sign this for the voting on November the 8th.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll give that to you while he's doing those. Then I have here the quarterly federal tax return for the town. $129,877.77. Make a motion that, in this case, I guess that I sign it.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
A request here for the Old Home Week Committee to use gymnasium. Penny sale, date of activity is October the 15th, 2016. That's this coming Saturday. Set up on Friday the 14th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion?
One discussion that I have, and I don't have a problem in the world with them using it, but what's the date on that for them putting it in?
6.
To be used on the 15th. I do think it's worth noting in telling these folks that, you know, a little bit more than 7 or 8 days' notice is probably prudent, because they run the risk,
Not being approved.
well, of not so much of it not being, of somebody else already using it.
That's what I mean.
Now, they've gone and advertised,
Yeah.
they've gone and advertised, they've collected all these items to do a penny sale, and they're just lucky that nobody else had already booked Town Hall.
I think they already had their
I-
schedule approved through Peter Wall.
Yeah, I think they did.
Because it was on the
Yep.
schedule, we just didn't have the contract in hand yet.
Okay.
Well, but it's a good point, though, if we can get that word out to all people who want to use the facility.
It just, I hate to see their event become a disaster.
Today, the 11th?
Yes.
All right, I have some quotes here for Public Works Director Brad Harriman for a new air compressor for the garage. He's received quotes from 4 companies on a new air compressor. A lot of research went into it. He also looked at Northern Tool and Granger, who are much higher, $6,400 and $7,900. The 4 quotes that he has is Napa at $3,815, Sunel's at $3,895, DL Thurot for an Atlas at $5,190, same company for a Champion at $5,499, and Abe Air at $5,561. He does recommend going with Napa because he says he's had good reports on people. It is the lowest bid at $3,815. Make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's good to see that that he's got a number of different bids on it. Have a notice here from the Department of Transportation, State of New Hampshire. Next week, October the 17th, 5:30 p.m. during or right directly after the Selectmen's meeting. Public hearing here on the improvements at the intersection of New Hampshire 28 and New Hampshire 171. A bunch of notices attached to this, Ellen, did they get posted?
Yes.
They did, so these are just extras.
They're on the website, they're down in the selectman's office, they've been sent to abutters.
So anybody who's interested in attending this hearing from the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, it's actually a hearing meeting type informational on the, what they're gonna do to 171-28 intersection, should be here. So we've got it posted.
Do we know for sure that the fire chief down in Ossipee County got this?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm meeting with them this morning for a work group meeting on 16 and Granite Road, so I'm sure they'll.
Does the chief of police have this?
Yes.
Can we ask him to make sure and bring with him information about the number of accidents that have occurred at that intersection since their last meeting?
Mm-hmm.
So that we can have that to present to them? I know we've been updating them, but I think there's been a couple more since the last update.
Probably has been.
Since July. I think there's been 3 or 4 anyways.
It's a continuation.
But I think they just need, somehow, we need to convey to them the seriousness of what's going on in that intersection. I don't, while I'm glad they're doing something, I think there's pretty good agreement by this board and by the people in emergency services that their proposed fixes will not
No,
fix it.
fix it, all right.
And I think we're gonna be doing an injustice if we don't continue to push that agenda.
How about the other fire chiefs? Did they get notified too, Ellen? You know,
Yes.
good. Because I think they ought to be notified too. It's a combination of all the departments.
It
Every
is,
time
but
you have a
it's
meeting
also,
down there.
it's also, somehow we need to get through to them that what is continuing to occur down there would not be fixed with simply adding a turn lane.
You know, I don't think it's gonna be fixed with just that either, so.
It isn't going to.
Yeah.
So they're gonna spend whatever it is they're gonna spend, and we're still gonna be piling people up down there.
So it's a tough one, and I wish I had an answer, but this has gone on ever since the construction of the intersection. It goes way back to very shortly after that intersection was actually built.
Of the 17 years that I was chief, for 16 of those years, I lobbied for them to do
Yeah.
something with that intersection. It's,
Yeah. It's terrible down there still.
you know,
There's a lot of intersections that are terrible.
Next notice I have here is drawdown of the lakes and across New Hampshire, and of course, the only one highlighted in here is the Ossipee Lake, Ossipee River area. The drawdown is going to be 3 feet, 3.25 feet.
scheduled for,
October 11th, I mean, October 10th, I'm sorry.
October 10th,
Yeah.
correct.
It's an annual event.
that's
It
when they
always
begin the
happens.
drawdown or when it will be complete by?
That's normally when they begin the drawdown.
Anybody have any idea how low the lake is right
It
now?
is pretty low,
Pretty
so
low.
if you look at that, the 3.25 feet is, if you look at the column on the first page, I think is below the normal level. So if it's already close to that, then the drawdown will be less than the 3.25 feet.
Yeah.
But I think it's based on the 410 or
Well,
the 4075, whatever they.
They'll
figured
take it
at.
down to 3.25 feet below normal level, is what they're
It's
saying.
down quite a bit. I took the boat out.
Yeah.
You have to go quite a ways.
Well, they're talking about Winnipesaukee being down 2 feet, and that's a lot of water in the big lake. So in other words, the drawdown from what they see right now may only be, another 12 inches or something.
Yeah.
But if we can get that word out, October 10th is when it's gonna happen, that would be appreciated.
It's already happened.
As a result of my meeting here a week or so ago with the Chickville Church Association for Bob, they wanted to do a couple of events, and I recommended they get their schedules in now, which they have done. The Friends of the Chickville Church, they want to have their Christmas program on the 19th of December. It's an all-day event that they do over there. Make a recommendation that we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Do we know if Brad got the larger gas tank in over there yet?
I do not know.
Can we make sure and keep that on the list of
And-
things that need to be addressed?
And I know that Rick St. Jean was going to work with Brad to get the water drain too.
Correct.
So hopefully that's been done. And the other event that they wanted to schedule is actually quite a ways off, Memorial Day service on 5/21 of 17. Make a motion, we approve it.
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And these have all been through Ellen. Do we get,
Scary to think we're already looking at a 17 schedule.
pardon me?
Scary to think we're already looking at the 2017 schedule.
2017's coming faster than I want it to. We have a request here, we did an abatement for Mr. Buchanan, and apparently it's not satisfying him. Todd's given us a negotiation figure to deal with him. I don't understand this. Either our assessments are right or our assessments are wrong, and I'm not sure why we as a board should be negotiating assessments with a landowner.
This is a Board of Tax and Land Appeals. We've already reduced it down to the 88,100, and pretty much the process is a BTLA request that the taxpayer and the assessor meet to see if they can come to a negotiation before it goes through the formal appeal process. The taxpayers come forward and said, I will agree to appeal and not do anything further if you'll agree on a settlement of $60,000. Todd doesn't have an opinion either way. He feels that what he's already reduced it to is fair and defensible, so it's ultimately the board's decision as to whether they want to say, okay, we'll settle it without going further, or we'll have him defend it to the BTLA.
I think you should defend it. If the value is defensible, then it's defensible. If it's not, then that's what Todd, our assessor, needs to tell us that, I've made a mistake, and this is what's wrong with the account.
That's exactly how I feel too, because why are we getting out there doing them?
Right.
And
I'll make a motion, we deny any settlement, and let it go through the process with the BTLA. And then maybe we'll give us an idea of how
What
well
he
our
is.
assessor is
Right.
doing.
Right.
All right, I'll make a second on that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So we're just gonna give it back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back.
A letter from Health Trust, they're looking for board of directors from municipalities, school districts, and so forth. I'm not going with it, but information only. Next one is information only from the planning board. It's a special use permit for Northgate Ossipee LLC, 110 Nichols Road, expansion, recreation, or camping park. Per zoning article, umpty squad issue, per plan submitted on September 20th, signed by chairman of the planning board. They have conditional to go forward with the campground. And this is strictly informational to us. Again, this letter is from DOT for October the 17th, 5:30 here at the town hall to discuss the 28-171 intersection. Charter Communications, better known to everybody as whatever.
Time Warner.
Time
It used to
Warner.
be Time Warner, but.
From time to time, we make certain changes in services. The following changes are scheduled. Pivots will be dropping on or about 31 October 2016. Again, it's a routine notice that we are confident agreements will be reached. Where are we on this?
We will be starting negotiations very shortly here.
Okay, 'cause
That's just on that one channel that they're getting rid of. Primarily what you get on a regular basis are just programming updates, channels that have changed.
we still need to get the contract negotiations
That is
in
correct.
place with them, so we know where we're going. And personally, I'd like to see the entire town.
I would
happy.
too.
That was one of the original agreements.
It was, and listen, and there's middle ground there. I'm not suggesting that they ought to run 5 miles of cable to pick up one customer. I think that's unrealistic. Having said that, there are a lot of areas of town where there's a significant population that does not have it. And it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
See, they won't come into Water Village.
No, because they're looking at the overall. They're looking at their overall expense versus the number of customers, and I get that. But at the same time, from our standpoint, if there are 25 people, which there are a lot more than 25 down in Water Village, who would utilize the service, then it ought to be extended.
But I don't think they're that far from Water Village. They're on Chickville Road, right?
Yeah.
And it's the county farm.
Yeah,
So it's a matter of
yeah.
which distance is the shortest distance to get in there, and they are gonna pick customers up. And furthermore, whether any of us like it or not, we're gonna continue to develop the town and continue to grow.
Well, then,
There will be
then
more.
to be honest with you, more and more, internet access isn't a luxury. It's becoming more and more of a necessity, and it really does affect people's ability to do business. I mean,
But I also think in the contract that we have, if they said they were gonna do the whole town, they should do the whole town.
Anyway.
and I don't know that the contract ever said that.
I don't either. I
The
was
the
not
problem
here.
with the contract is it's now 17 years old. It goes through this automatic renewal phase for a period of time, and the past boards have just passed it through with no amendments, so
Yeah.
now that we finally caught it, we'll see if we
I
can
don't-
get some better service.
I have an invitation here from the Greater Ossipee Area Chamber of Commerce, annual meeting and dinner at the River's Edge Indian Mountain Golf Course on October the 26th, which is a Wednesday. Meeting is from 5 to 5:30, reception and dinners from 5:30 till 9, $40 per person, cash bar. I'm not going. Does anybody else wish to have this? So welcome to it. It's here if they wish to attend.
No.
Newsletter from Humane Society. Anybody wishes to have a copy of it or read it, more than welcome to it. Newsletter from Joseph Kenny, our Executive Director. Again, highlighting more or less what's going on in our area, and also gives you a complete rundown and list of how the entire budget is being spent during this period of time in the state of New Hampshire. That's all I have in the red folder.
Not realizing that this room was going to be used, do you want to
Not realizing what.
relocate?
No, kick them out for a minute.
They're in a posted meeting as well.
Fine.
Continue to proceed.
Been bothering us, eh?
We know what you want to do. We don't have much left to do, do we?
Well, we're
Water,
gonna talk
sewer.
about budget and water and sewer. And then we have to do a non-public.
Yep.
The first thing that I handed out to you were the budgets for the conservation agent. You can actually ignore the selectman's office, that's mine. The Board of Selectmen. These budgets are coming up for review next Monday on the 17th. And I just need to know from you if you have any plans for changes to either your salary or our timber monitor. Obviously, the timber monitor is something that we have to look at and decide if we're gonna proceed moving forward.
I have no desire to change, unless the other two selectmen do, the selectmen's salaries.
No.
Nope.
Those can stay right where they are. You wouldn't want to pay me what I think I'm worth. So.
And I do not want to do an analysis of hours work versus pay. It'll make me cry.
So I think the selectmen's can stay as it has in the past. Conservation agent, yes, we need to make a decision. We're either gonna have him here as he's been doing, or we need to sit down with a schedule and, not do it. We put in 3,000 last year. We've spent 2175 on it, Ellen?
As of August 10th, we've,
This is as of August 10th. Where's this gonna be at the end of any idea at the end of the year? Because we didn't really budget for him 4 hours per week.
no, we did not.
Do we want to budget for him 4 hours per week? If we do, fine. If we don't, then we need to set a schedule that he meets the budget.
Currently, we've expended, as of last week, we've expended $2687.50 for the part-time wages alone. So we'll probably be close to $750 over, just on the wage line alone.
How
And then, of
about,
course, your FICA and Medicare will adjust accordingly.
how much do you think? Do you think another $1,000 will cover the whole thing?
Yes.
Do we wanna do that?
Well, I think we need to have a discussion about, is the position doing what we'd hoped it would do? And to back up, I was one of the proponents of establishing this again. We used to have a timber monitor, years ago. And I still believe that there are times when, we have an obligation to have some oversight as to whether or not we're getting accurate timber reports. The same way I believe that we have obviously an interest in whether or not we're getting accurate gravel rights reports, because it does affect what they pay in taxes, which therefore affects the rest of us. My reason was, for supporting this, was to try to make sure that there was some actual oversight to these intents to cut and other. I guess I'm up in the air as to whether or not it is doing what we'd hoped it would do. My thoughts were that we would not have somebody necessarily sitting in an office 3 or 4 hours a week, but that they would come in, collect up the intents to cut, do some actual site visits to try to determine if in fact we are being accurately reported. I
Isn't
don't.
that what's being done?
Is that what's being done?
It is. Sue is providing him with copies of the intents to cut as well as a report to cut. He is looking through it. I mean, he has a spreadsheet set up. He's been out to monitor several timber operations. We've actually had reports that have been revised come in based on his review.
So we are
He
getting.
is doing quite a bit of field visit. We've coordinated it, so he has the town vehicle available between the hours of 12 and 4, or 1 and 4, I believe it is. So there is a good mixture of office use and field visits taking place.
Okay.
Good. But
I think
but
so.
short of that, to be able to figure out how much the town has actually reaped in a benefit of the position, I don't know that we can make that determination as of yet.
And listen, and I'm not necessarily in the first year of anything expecting that we're gonna get back everything that we put out. I think that more than, I want, the vast majority of loggers in this area are good, hardworking, honest people. There are, however, and we all know who some of them are, who are not. I was disappointed, and I think we ultimately were able to fix what went on down with the property on Water Village Road, where the homeowner, the landowner, got screwed by the logger. The logger refused to provide the information that the homeowner needed to file the reports. So then, we're in a position where the homeowner was getting fined. Now again, we were able to correct that. But if that gentleman hadn't reached out to me, how many other times a year is that gonna occur where we don't have an opportunity to fix it? My thoughts are, do it another year, but we need to have an emphasis on not just reporting, but I'd also like to see if there's not a way that we can have a list of recommended loggers that we provide to people if they request it. Because there are some issues, with 2 or 3 in particular, who have a history of not reporting and stuff.
No, we've always steered away from any recommendations.
I know we have, but if our goal is to protect Ossipee taxpayers,
I think you might be all right if you had a list of 10, for example.
Right, and you give them a list of
And
10.
you gave them that list of 10.
oh, I'm not
right?
suggesting we
pick what they
endorse a
want.
particular logger.
Okay, but, right.
I'm not suggesting.
We don't want to do that.
No.
The other thing that I think is missing in this process is we're not getting feedback from him being the monitor, as to
Well,
what he
maybe he's
goes
got-
out and checks, what he finds, what he resolves, what's issues, what loggers are maybe not necessarily working to what they should be, how many people he has to say, hey, now you have to get a permit, they're already in the process of cutting. There is an attitude around with some of the loggers that anytime they go in and clear a house lot, they do not need an intent to cut. I don't know that I agree with that, and why that particular thought is out there, because I've seen some people go in and do a house lot clearing and cut 30,000 feet of timber. And that shouldn't be just simply because it comes off what they consider their house lot, exempt from filing an intent to cut and paying the proper tax on it. So I think anytime they go in to do any cutting, they ought to be filing an intent to cut. And where we're getting in trouble is there's a group of loggers out there, and they're going in and doing a house lot clearing for the material. They're saying, okay, I'll clear your house lot for whatever I can get out of it. And therefore, we get left out of the circuit on what's happening.
Well, not only do we get left out, but in certain cases, that landowner gets screwed.
Yes.
They can take $50,000 worth of timber off for a job that they should have done for $5,000. So it's not.
So I guess where I'm coming from is I think we need to somehow have a meeting with Bob and relay some of our concerns.
Yeah, I do
and
too.
get him to report back to us if we're gonna do this. And I think if we're gonna do it for another year, let's fund it for the whole year and see if we can get the report, so we do have some accurate data saying, yes,
Oh,
this has paid.
I'm in favor, especially given what Ellen just updated. I'm in favor of funding it for another year. I do think, though, that we need to sit down and talk with him about the actual hours. Are the hours that we're currently doing enough? I agree with you that there needs to be better reporting, but that means more time doing a report.
He may have that report, just a matter of not forwarding it to us too.
But
If he's got a spreadsheet
I
down
think we
there
should bring him in and talk.
showing what he's doing and stuff, I'd like to see the spreadsheet
Okay, on a regular basis.
on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So that would mean that this particular line
He's here on
item,
Mondays, ain't he?
He is here on Monday, so if you would like, I can, where we're going to be reviewing his budget on Monday, do you want to try to set something up with him?
Touch
Sure.
base him a little bit, yeah.
now these budgets are only being reviewed at the selectmen's level.
Correct, but they will be before the budget committee on
When's that start?
Wednesday, October 26th.
26th of October.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta get that in my own mind so that I attend them. So that, if that's the case, then this line item would have to go up to reflect,
Correct.
all right, which would be about $1,000.
And we can see what that, I mean, there have been quite a few Monday holidays throughout the year and some time off that he's had to take off for personal reasons, but on average, I mean, if you figure out 52 weeks a year at his salary.
There's a lot of things happening out there within the logging community. I get out, I don't know if I'll get out hunting much this year, but when you get out hunting and you see what some of the backland and how it's been treated, and I think that's something he needs to get into and visit. There is a lot of stuff out there, you know, I think of one pile I saw a few years ago that, 25 empty 5-gallon cans of hydraulic fluid. You say to yourself, where the heck did 25 5-gallon cans of hydraulic fluid go? They just didn't carry those empty cans and leave them in a pile.
No.
So I think there is, this was a long time ago I saw that happen, but it's things that I think that he could add into his visiting of these particular work sites. All right, does that answer that, Alan? You're gonna take care of the other one?
Yeah, I shouldn't have.
And we're gonna hold the selectmen's right where it is.
Correct.
Does that take care of these three?
It does. The only other one that I'll be working on for next week is the legal line, so I'm going to
Where are we at on that so far this year?
Very good,
take a
actually.
closer
Huh?
look at it. I had increased it to 35,000 from 30,000 the year prior. We actually at one point had a $35,000 budget. We've expended so far just shy of $14,000, but we have quite a bit out there that's gonna be wrapped up and going to court here shortly, so.
We have quite a lot of stuff hanging out down there at his office.
Okay.
I don't believe that we're on track to go over budget, but we will consume quite a bit more of it
Okay.
before the end of the year.
And these on the office stuff, on the salaries, and they'll basically increase the,
Yeah, you can just ignore that one, I'm still plugging away.
okay, won't see any major
That
increases.
one we don't have to address until October 31st. It just printed out.
It's coming fast.
It is. But I am working on it.
All right, so these other ones we just noted are gonna be the
Correct.
17th and Budget Committee on the 26th.
And we did shift around. The outside agencies were originally scheduled for Monday, November 7th. I pushed those back a week because it's the night before the election, and to have potential of 20-something outside agencies here on a Monday night, it could be a 7 o'clock meeting, and that wouldn't be very fair for setting
No.
up for elections.
No.
I agree with
I
that.
pushed that back a week, so technically, when we hear them at the selectmen level, the budget committee will be hearing them that same week, November 16th and 17th, but it was the easiest way to.
And when's the deadline for them to get them in, so we'll have a chance to review them before that meeting?
They have to be in here by October 28th,
Okay.
so we'll have a good fair 2 weeks to
Good.
review them.
All right,
All right, this is the, you want to take one pass it off? This is a list of questions that we formulated on the water and sewer. And while Kim Hatch was here doing some office work for us, we had her answer some questions. I didn't photocopy everything that she brought through because there are reports that are 30 to 40 pages in length that have to do with the users, but just to kind of go through, her written response is included with this. A lot of it is basic process on how things function. Wage information, purchase purchase order requirements. There is a rate analysis that's here in this folder if you want to review it for other towns. Not necessarily based on similar user size, but just what their rates are for both water and sewer. There's a lot of information here that we need to review and start getting a handle on.
There's a lot to take in here anyway. Have to look at that for another meeting, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you look at it and pick it in two.
I am still waiting for some clarification on the accounting aspect of it from the Department of Revenue. I left several messages for Michelle Clark last week, and she was at I think she was at another conference, or she was going to be attending a conference towards the end of the week. So I hope to hear back from her and get a little bit of clarification about the question of commingling general taxation.
And have we reached out to the auditors at all yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. We need to make sure that that's in place for the first agenda.
I'd like to really know more about that when you do talk to DRA on that, because some of the things that are being said, I'm not gonna dispute them, but I'm gonna say that I don't read the RSA that way.
No, and I, one of the, if you look at the way the statute is written, it's clearly designed so that people who have paid money in for their water and sewer bill, that money can then not be used for other purposes than maintaining the water and sewer system. And that makes sense. I mean, so when it talks about commingling, that's what appears to me to be the intent of it, is that you're not using the water and sewer system as a revenue machine for the rest of the town. And that's never been the case. In fact, the worry is whether or not it can sustain the system. Never mind
But I don't
anything
read,
else.
I don't read anything in it where it says the rest of the town
No.
tax base can't be used to
No.
offset.
I think the reverse is true, that they wouldn't
Right.
want you using water and sewer revenues to help
The town.
fund the
Generate
highway
revenue.
department.
Right.
You know,
I
mean,
agree with that.
And I agree with that, but if you look at the way that it's written, it has nothing, there's nothing in it that says, I mean, listen, that by nature, the town owns those systems. We own Camp David. We have an obligation to maintain the road that goes into Camp David. There are all kinds of things where general taxation money has already been spent. When you plow into Camp David, I mean, that's the highway department that does that. Why wouldn't you? It's plowing access into our property. So there's already a commingling, if you will, in that regard. You're
that regard's
using
right.
general tax money to support the water and sewer system. Why wouldn't you? But the reverse can't be true. We couldn't use water and sewer money
Plow Town Road.
to, fund the highway department, the police department, or anything else, and we shouldn't.
Still, my major concern, and my big concern has been right along since we went forward with this, is I still feel the folks who are on this system can't support the system 100%.
Well, and I think, I have that same concern, Frank, but I don't think we're gonna know that until we actually, one, get a handle on the budget. Because, listen, I'm very skeptical, and I may be proven wrong. But the fact of the matter is, they had enough money left in their budget to buy a truck.
Well, it's not only the truck, they also had money left in their budget to put over in a capital reserve
I
fund.
get, but what I'm saying is, how, we won't know
Until we get the
until we
numbers.
actually get to actually look at this, how badly it has been over budgeted. Well, listen, through maybe just some reasonable budgeting, maybe in fact the users can support it. We won't know that until we have an actual handle on what the needed expenditures are.
I think they might be able to handle the normal operation, but you know, it's like the bond issue. If it wasn't for the taxpayers across the town paying the bond issue, it's the water folks using it couldn't afford it. So
That's
when it
partly-
comes to major repairs on that system,
Oh, I think,
they're gonna
yeah,
have to come across the town. They're not gonna be able to be put on strictly the water sewer users.
I don't think they can, and I think there's justification for them not to. Let me just play this out. Every single lot, every single piece of property that water system and sewer system goes by generates tax revenue for the town as a result of that system being there. Flat out. I mean, those lots are worth more money because there is water and sewer to them. They become an improved lot. So the town does get tax revenue as a result of the water and sewer system being there. So I think you can justify the expenditure of town funds to support the system. The system generates you money as well. Will it ever generate what it cost you? I don't know.
Probably not the
I don't know. I don't know. But you do generate town revenue as a result of that system being there.
Well, I feel very, I'm not on the system, but I feel obligated in one respect. It is a system that supports the center of town, which would be very difficult to support individually, and I think it becomes a town.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
want
then
to
there are a lot
call
of
it a
things.
burden, but a town.
Look at the hydrant system and what it does for the cost of insurance and having that available. It's a huge, huge impact.
So I think I agree with you completely. If you can talk with Michelle, that, yes, I agree, we shouldn't take water sewer funds and go use them to offset highway, for example. But I believe we can sincerely take the other taxation within the town and help support, if we need to, the water sewer department.
Oh, the only, and again, I just would simply restate that we won't know that until we get control of the budget.
Right.
I don't want the rest of the taxpayers thinking all of a sudden that their tax bill is gonna go up because we're taking over this water system.
Right.
We don't know that in any way, shape, or form. The fact that they had enough money left at the end listen, that's not a huge budget. That's a $400,000 budget. If they had $40,000 left to buy a truck, they were 10% over budget. That's a lot.
Well, I'm still.
I mean, historically, we run a couple of, if we have 1 or 2% left over at the end of the year, we're lucky. I don't think the budget has been run tight at all.
I'm still very concerned about the increased taxation on the school. That's one that I have a real concern on that, because that is, as far as I'm concerned, very much an unfair tax. But we need to be looking at that. But I agree with you, until you get a handle on the budget.
Would you entertain the idea of meeting with another town? I know Brad has spoken with Dave Owen and Peter Chamberlain, so the town manager and the finance manager over in the town of Wolfboro, establishing a joint meeting with them just to see how their process works. And
I'm not opposed to a joint meeting. I might suggest it would make more sense for you and Brad to participate in a
Okay.
joint meeting with them.
And Elaine.
But I don't know that it's gonna offer us a whole lot, as much as it would offer you guys.
No, it'd be good if Elaine said it on
Yeah,
it, so she
but-
knows the fine. Pete Chamberlain's the finance manager over there, and where Elaine is the finance manager here. I don't have any objection.
I mean, I'm not opposed to going, I'm just thinking it's gonna be better for you guys than it is for us. And then you can report back to us what you find. But,
If you need one of us there, one of us can be there, but I mean, I don't think all three of us need to be there.
Find out how they do it. It's a good way to go. There's no sense reinventing the wheel. Somebody else has already got it invented.
no,
So we find out just how they handle it, because I do believe, I don't know. I don't know if their system supports or doesn't. I'm not familiar with that.
I-
so.
there is something different about it. The one system has to be funded. I can't remember if it's the
It's
water
probably
or
the
the
water
sewer.
system, because when you read the RSA seems to be more strict on the sewer side than it does over on the water side. So, but I'm not sure that the sewer fees actually support the entire sewer system, or maybe they do. You know, you're gonna get in trouble, I don't care how you look at it, the minute you go out there and start bringing these systems up to grade, or start doing work, renovations, or putting in a new system or something, I just don't see how the users can afford it.
There's a lot of things that concern me. I was actually watching a program the other night, and we've talked a little bit about water testing, which is something that I'm gonna be a pain in the ass about, to be perfectly blunt, because I think that it's, whatever the state requires, we ought to be doing double that or triple that. You know, this whole idea behind lead in particular in your water, there is no such thing as a safe amount of lead. There is a level by which they will let you go, but there is no
safe, right.
such thing as a safe level of lead. And now what they're finding is a lot of the water systems, and I watched a really interesting program about it the other night, who have done partial replacements, who have done partial fixes, they're actually creating more of a problem than what they're fixing, because the minute you mix copper and lead, you create a battery, for all intents and purposes, and the actual lead level in the water goes up as a result. How many water systems, I mean, think about this, around the country have done half a replacement because of what it costs? Well, they can actually be doing more harm than good by doing a partial. I don't know what we have for lead in our system. You know we have some. I mean, there are certainly valves in there.
0.4 at fire department.
But
We just had it done.
there needs to be, I believe, a lot more comprehensive testing, and I don't. It's partly liability protection. I'll give you an example. When I was chief, the state required, on firearms qualifications, required 70% to pass. We required 80%. They required once a year qualification, we required twice. Every time you do more than what you are required to, you put yourself in that much better of a position from a liability standpoint. One, morally, past that. I mean, the last thing I want is anybody on the, particularly children, being affected by the lead levels on our water system. I really want us to do a lot more in testing than what we have been doing. And I think it ought to be random.
And that's not a big expensive item, I'll
It's
tell you
not
right
a
now.
big
It's not a
expensive
big-
item. It's not.
$70 it cost us.
But I think you know, I'm not sure where they test, you may end up doing more samples in more locations.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can have lead over here and not have it over here.
Absolutely, and it can be because of pipes that are in that particular building. And again, that's the way that you help people identify a problem in their own home. It's maybe not your system. But there is no such thing as a safe amount of
What if
lead.
there's any local test kit that you can, like let's say you have to officially test it every other month. If there's a local kit you can actually buy and test it yourself.
There is. They're a home test they sell at the hardware stores, where you can test for the lead in your water.
Those would be very inexpensive to
They're
do.
very,
Just
I mean,
to give you-
they're literally $10 and then you send it in.
That would be, that might be a way to go, instead of getting the full test on your own, but get out there and see, hey, does this thing indicate I got an issue? And then if you get an issue, then you take your samples and send it as required.
I just wanna see us be a lot more aggressive on guaranteeing the quality of water. A
Do
lot
we-
more. I don't wanna do just what the state
I
requires.
know there's rumor out there that they're doing the budget, I have no idea what they're doing. I don't know if anybody
Well,
has
I heard
any
they got it
idea
all
what
done.
they're doing.
It's
So
gone
we
way
need
up.
to reach out, when do they come in with their budget to us?
They come in,
But they don't come in with line items, they only come in with totals.
correct.
I have no interest in even listening to them.
November 21st.
How do we get copies of their line items? Do you think they'll give them to us?
Yes, of their proposed budget?
We have it from last
Yeah,
year.
we have it from last year. And
We have the line item down to
And
line
their
item
budget
level.
is broken down by line item. It's just all we look at is the water total and the sewer total, because that's all that goes on the
We'd like to
warrant.
get the line item as soon as we can. I think we ought to be looking at the line item ourselves.
Yeah.
Even
I believe Brad has been working with Bo on the budget, but there are some things before that budget is finalized that we need to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we need to go over that. We're not just gonna hand it to them like that, no.
So-
So if we could get if they've got it done, if we get I would like to see the line item level.
Yeah.
Just to look at it and, you know, see what you think. And you and Elaine can look at that and see if it's in line with what's been the past. The transition is gonna, I personally think the service is gonna stay like it's always been.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna change.
We're gonna
any.
have some
It's gonna,
No,
hiccups,
but this
I'm sure.
first year budget, I don't know how accurate a reflection do we have about, never mind what they budgeted, what they actually spent out of each line item? Do we have an accurate?
We can get a budget versus actual
Well, Harry put
report.
that copy out to you, not by line item,
No,
just by
but-
checks.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you anything.
Well, it just gives you.
Well,
Gives you
his-
totals.
And
Gives you
Harry
total.
doesn't have, in the treasurer's report, he doesn't have their budget inputted, that's in their separate
Right, they don't have
accounting
that
system
line
over
item.
there. But Doreen can run a report off QuickBooks of the budget that was set versus the actual expenditures.
Can we get that then along with,
Mm-hmm.
because that's,
But let us know
I'd
if
like
we
to
have
see
any,
that.
otherwise, this first year, to be honest with you, it's gonna be a whole lot of guesswork.
Yeah.
let us know
I
if
don't
there's
think-
any
I don't think it'd be
hesitation to
hard.
give us that information too. We may need to meet with the commissioners or something, I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I realize.
But in any
that-
case, we're not gonna, not waiting until the end of the year, at least get the first 3 quarters of the year.
Absolutely. Let's look at what's going on. I mean, I don't know how, I
Know
I
what their
would hope
intentions
that,
are
I would
before
hope
they
that they'd work with
get
us,
out.
but if you have trouble getting them, get back to me and I'll go talk to Ski myself.
Okay.
Don't wanna, I'm not looking to, we all work for the same town. I'm just not looking for
Right, I hear you.
animosity
I hear you.
amongst
I hear you.
people.
It wasn't me that made it personal.
I didn't say it was. I know, I've been around a while myself, but sometimes
I'm not inclined to listen to petty BS,
I don't care if they
one way or the other.
shoot at me or not. It hit the
Oh, I don't
basic
either,
goal.
but don't expect to shoot at me and not shoot back, have me not shoot back.
Somebody-
That's contrary.
Somebody
to
else
my-
is in the
that-
news
that is-
media that way too.
That is contrary to my character.
Ed, you're smiling, Ed. Ed.
Good not being the only gun.
I feel safe around all you people, that's all I want to tell you.
What else do you have on our schedule?
I don't have anything else except for the non-public to go over the truck driver
We
recommendation.
can do that right in your office.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was also though, one thing, what's the status on the cease and desist off Doris Corner?
Cease and desist has been ordered.
Served,
served.
it's served.
It was served on Friday. I received a visit from the property owner, and pretty much what they've intimated is that they can't, that the timeline wasn't agreed upon, that it was null and void, and I said, no, that's not the case whatsoever. Actually, the tail end of the agreement is that the travel trailer that's located on the property should be out by the end of this month, and you haven't followed through with any of the other items, so you technically can't live in the mobile home that's been placed on the property without being on a slab, secured by hurricane straps and hooked up to utilities, so, I did contact Attorney Sager and just let him know what is going on, what transpired between our conversation, but they're supposed to be reviewing the timeline, seeing what they can actually comply with immediately, and what they're not financially able to, and we're gonna go from there. They're supposed to present that to you hopefully this week. As of right now, the cease and desist has been ordered.
The cease and desist is on them doing anything further?
Anything further, period.
He has
But they-
that in his hand.
yes, it was delivered by our police department on Friday. However, they have moved into the mobile home.
And what is the attorney's advice now?
I have to follow up with him.
Because is there power hooked up to this?
No.
Is there water hooked up to it? Is there sewer hooked up to it? And they've moved into it.
Correct.
So now, I guess the question to the attorney is, now what? The cease and desist is not, if they're not going to abide by it, then he needs to take the next step and take them to court.
And that, I believe, is the next step.
Then he needs to do that sooner versus later, because again, because of the season.
That's right.
You know,
that's something that needs to be done immediately. If they have moved in violation of the building permit, which they haven't complied with anything that they agreed to, then the town needs to take action.
No, we agreed to those timelines. That was a letter sent from our attorney to him.
No, it was originally supplied by him to the
I
attorney.
understand.
And
I
we agreed to it in a
understand.
public meeting.
We agreed to it in a public meeting. Okay,
And-
that's what I was
And that
trying to.
information was supposedly relayed through our zoning enforcement officer at the time.
How to get back to him that we agreed to it.
Supposedly through our zoning enforcement officer. I'm not sure that that actually took place. Because he is now under the understanding that the board did not agree to the timeline and that it was all null and void. Or at least that's what he relayed to me on
If that were the
Friday.
case, then he would have been staying there for months in violation.
Exactly.
He's got absolutely no leg to stand on with that. He knows he does not have a permit to be there.
I was just curious how he got notified, that's what.
Mhm.
I was
I
thinking.
can look
I
back
was
through the
thinking like
file
that.
and
I
see
was
if there was
thinking
any-
we actually had Sager send a letter back to him.
I can look back through the correspondence.
He got notified by everybody right at the meeting, didn't he?
He was present during that meeting.
No, the meeting, the timeline that he
President.
supplied and we agreed to was after he was at the meeting.
Correct.
He was
Okay.
he was not at the meeting when we
Wasn't at
approved it.
that meeting. But I really thought we'd send it back to Rick, to
Mm-hmm.
Sager to send back to him, and I thought it went back through Sager's office. We ought to see if we can verify that.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other new business from you?
No, I don't think.
Any other, no? All right, I make a motion, we go into non-public for 91
A,
A
C, 3,
colon 3 for a personnel issue,
2B.
2B. I don't have all the numbers memorized yet.
That's why I gave you the,
Can I officially, or I should say, can I would like to officially request a draft copy of the Water Commission's budget, if I can probably assist you in getting it if you can't.
absolutely.
It seems strange that you don't have a copy of that. Now, your budget as a town is online, correct?
We
Or at
haven't
least
started,
available.
we haven't started the process, we're starting the review process, so each department comes before the Board of Selectmen, at which point the recommendation is either made to make any amendments or follow through with it, and at that point, they are available for the public. But as a department, they're a working document right now, but the way that the Water and Sewer Department has been handled in the past is the Board of Selectmen technically don't have any authority over the budget, it just gets placed on the warrant article. The Budget Committee is the one that formally reviews it, so we're hoping to change that process this year, just for the educational portion of it.
Well, it's been requested through my channels that the draft copy of the town and the Water Commission's budgets are available online. Make sure it says draft over it,
Okay.
just so the public, when they do come to the hearings, they can
Mhm.
have an idea of what they're looking at.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And that's,
Can we do that?
Yes, absolutely, we do that.
We
It's
do
just
that.
as a matter, we're so early in the stages right now. Each department is reviewed over a 4-week period, and then we compile it all into the operating budget. But as far as, you're saying like the line-by-line budget for each department, you want those available? Okay.
you had said in the meeting before that you have the last year's budget
Yeah.
line item for the Water Commission?
Correct.
And you have that available?
Yes.
So I can, thank you.
Any public input? Any other public input? No, it's all set. So, state my motion to go back into non-public in accordance with RSA 91. Alan's got all the numbers, I can't remember.
Rick Morgan?
They're on your selectmen's meeting.
Rick Morgan, yes.
Bob Freeman, yes.
Frank Riley, yes.
We'll be right back.
Do you have them on here?
Yes.
You did. 91A32B, personnel. All I have to do is read. All right, make a motion to return to public meeting. Bob?
Second?
Rick, yes. Bob,
Yes.
yes. And Frank, yes. All right, we had a non-public for the purpose of reviewing applicants and hiring a person to fill the truck driver's position. We're gonna make a conditional offer to Tracy Waterhouse. Conditional offer will be that he has to pass the background check before they can actually start employment. else?
I don't,
Ellen, anything? Did I cover all the areas that you wanted covered?
And then some,
And
thank
then
you.
some. You're welcome. Any other come before the board today?
I have nothing.
Rick? Ellen? No? If I have no other business for the board, I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ed.